or 5 complex fractions. When we are working with complex fractions, it's like saying that we have a fraction within a fraction. So we want to remember that fractions mean division. So if we look at example 1, we have 7/12 minus 1/6 over 2 plus 4/9. So you want to rewrite this as a division problem. So this is going to become, or this is the same thing as 7/12 minus 1/6 divided by 2, or 2 over 1, plus 4/9. So remember, when we're adding and subtracting fractions first, because this is like doing order of operations, you want to do what's in parentheses first before you multiply or divide. When you subtract or add fractions, you need like denominators. So if we look at the first set of fractions, you have 7/12 and 1/6. Their least common denominator is 12. So this is going to stay 7 over 12 minus the 6 times 2 is 12. So 1 times 2 is 2 over 12. And then that second set of parentheses, you have 2 over 1 and 4/9. Their least common denominator is 9, obviously. So multiply the 1 by 9, multiply the 2 by 9, we get 18 over 9 plus 4/9. So now we're going to do the addition and the subtraction first. So the 7 minus 2 is 5. Keep it over 12, divided by 18 plus 4 gives us 22. Keep it over the 9. If we are dividing fractions, we keep, change, flip. So this is going to be 5 over 12 times 9 over 22. You can simplify before you multiply. The 3 goes into both 9 and 12. So the 3 will turn into the 9 will turn into a 3, the 12 will turn into 4. So 5 times 3 is 15, and 4 times 22 is 88. So 15 over 88 would be our simplified version of this. For 2, we have 1/2 plus 1/3 over 1 minus 1/6. So again, this is the same thing like saying 1/2 plus 1/3 divided by 1, or 1 over 1 minus 1/6. So like denominators, your least common multiple between 2 and 3 is 6. So the 1/2 will turn into 3 over 6. Then the 1/3 will turn into 2 over 6. And then your next set will be 6 over 6 minus 1 over 6. From here, you're going to have 5 over 6 divided by 5 over 6. Well, any number divided by itself is just 1. You could keep, change, flip. It would just become 5/6 times 6 over 5, which is, again, just 1. For 3, we have 1 minus 4/5 over 1/4 minus 1/5. So again, this is like saying 1 over 1 minus 4 over 5 divided by 1/4 minus 1/5. So we're going to turn the 1 over 1 to 5 over 5 minus 4 over 5 divided by the 1/4 minus 1/5. Your least common multiple between 4 and 5 is 20. So 4 times 5 is 20. Multiply the 1 by 5, you get 5 over 20. Minus, you're going to multiply the 4 by 5 and by 1, so that's 4 over 20. So when we add and when we subtract these, 5 minus 4 is 1, keep it over the 5. Divided by 5 minus 4 is 1, keep it over the 20. So keep, change, flip now. 1/5 times 20 over 1. The 5 goes into 24 times, so this is just 4. For 4, we have 2/3 minus 5/6. Minus 5/6 over or divided by 1/3 plus 2/9. So we're going to find the least common denominator between the 3 and the 6, which is 6. Multiply 2 and 3 by 2 to get the 6. It's going to give us 4/6 minus 5/6 divided by your least common multiple, or least common multiple between the 3 and the 9 is 9. So multiply the 3 and the 1 by 3. It's going to give us 3 over 9 plus 2/9. So now do your subtraction and your addition. We're going to have negative 1/6 divided by 5/9. Keep, change, flip. Negative 1 over 6 times 9 over 5. If you want to simplify before you multiply, you can. The 6 will turn into a 2. The 9 turns into a 3. So that's negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 over 2 times 5, which is 10. So negative 3/10. Sometimes we are going to have these complex fractions with variables in them. So when that is the case, we're going to treat these the same way we would as with numbers. We're going to find the least common denominator, do the addition or subtraction on the top, do the addition or subtraction on the bottom, then divide the two. So if we look at example 1, we have z minus 1 over z over 1 minus 1 over z. So the z is the same thing as saying like z over 1 minus 1 over z divided by 1 over 1 minus 1 over z. So first fraction, least common multiple between 1 and z is z. So we'd multiply top and bottom of the first fraction by z. This is going to become z squared over z minus. All right, so then that second fraction, we can keep it 1 over z. And then that second set of parentheses, our least common denominator there is also z. So we'd multiply top and bottom by that first fraction. So it'd be z over z minus 1 over z. So from here, we are going to rewrite this as just z squared minus 1 over z divided by z minus 1 over z. So we can keep, change, flip. When we do this, we have to realize that we have to factor that z squared minus 1. So this is going to become z minus 1 times z plus 1 all over z times z over z minus 1. So from here, we can cancel out those z minus 1s. We can cancel out those z's. We're just going to have z plus 1 as our answer. With our next example, we have x minus 1 over 1 plus 1 over x. So with this x minus 1, it's just an expression. So we don't have to do anything with that. We're literally just going to be doing x minus 1 divided by 1 over 1 plus 1 over x. So that 1 over 1 is going to turn into x over x to have a like denominator with the second fraction, so we can add those. So x plus 1 is just x plus 1 over x divided by x minus 1 over 1. Keep, change, flip. So this is going to be x minus 1 over 1 times x over x plus 1. You can't simplify here before you multiply, so it's just going to be x times x minus 1 over x plus 1. For our next example, we have 2 over x plus x over 4 divided by x plus 1 over x. So again, rewrite this to where it's a division expression. So we're going to have 2 over x plus x over 4 divided by x plus 1 over x. So the first fraction, your least common denominator there is 4x. So we'll multiply the first fraction, top and bottom, by 4. It's going to become 8 over 4x. Plus the 4 is going to be multiplied by x. So that's x squared over 4x. Divided by, then the second one we don't have to do anything with. Oops. From here, we can rearrange these terms in the first set of parentheses to be x squared plus 8 over 4x, and then we're going to multiply or divide that by x plus 1 over x. We can keep, change, flip now, so this can be x squared plus 8 over 4x times x over x plus 1. So when we do this, we can go ahead and cancel out those x's and it's just going to be x squared plus 8 over the 4 times x plus 1. And we don't have to go ahead and multiply that out, we can just leave it. For 4, we have x plus 1 over x squared minus 1. If you want to start by factoring this, you can. We're going to keep the x plus 1 on top. On the bottom, we're going to have x plus 1 times x minus 1. And then this is being divided by x over x minus 1. So if you wanted to keep change flip from here, we can have x plus 1 over x plus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 1 over x. If you want to simplify before you multiply, you can. Those x minus 1s would cancel. Same thing with those x plus 1s. So we just have 1 over x. For 5, we have 20 over x minus 1. 20 over x minus 1 divided by 6 over 3x minus 3. I'm going to factor this 3 out to be 3 times x minus 1, so it makes it a little bit easier for me when I go to divide or multiply, whatever I'm going to have to do. So I'm going to have 20 over x minus 1 times 3 times x minus 1 over 6. I'm going to simplify before I multiply. Those x minus 1s are going to cancel. The 3 is going to turn into a 1, the 6 will turn into a 2. The 2 will then turn into a 1, making the 20 a 10. So it's just 10 times 1, which is 10. For our next one, we have 1 over x plus 1 over x plus, could have done this a little bit, there we go. 1 over x plus 1 over 2x divided by x plus 4 over x minus 2. So your first set of fractions, your least common denominator is 2x. We're going to multiply the top and bottom of that first fraction by 2 to give us 2 over 2x plus 1 over 2x divided by x plus 4 over x minus 2. The 2 plus 1 is 3, so this is going to become 3 over 2x divided by x plus 4 over x minus 2. From here, we're going to keep change flip, so 3 over 2x times x minus 2 over x plus 4. We cannot simplify before we multiply, so this is just going to be 3 times x minus 2 over 2x times x plus 4. If we look at our next set of examples, sometimes we're going to be given negative exponents. When we do this, we have to just take the reciprocal of the term that negative exponent is a part of. So if we look at example 1, we have a to the negative first power. Remember, this is the same thing as 1 over a minus x to the negative first, so that's 1 over x over, which means divided by a to the negative second, so that's 1 over a squared, minus x to the negative second, so that's 1 over x squared. If we find the least common denominator for the first set of fractions, it's going to be ax, multiplied top by x, and bottom by x for the first. The second is going to be multiplied by a, top and bottom. So this is going to be x over ax minus a over ax. Divided by your second set of parentheses, their least common denominator is a squared x squared. So top and bottom first fraction is going to be x squared. Second is going to be a squared. So this is going to be x squared over a x squared minus a squared over ax squared. So from a squared x squared. So when we go to add or subtract these, we're going to be left with x minus a over ax divided by x squared minus a squared over a squared x squared. Now, when we go to keep, change, flip, we're also going to factor if we can. So this is going to be x minus a over ax times a squared x squared over x minus a times x plus a. So if we can simplify before we multiply, we do. The a is going to cancel out the exponent on the a squared. The x will cancel out the exponent on the x squared. The x minus a is going to cancel out the x minus a on the second fraction's denominator. So this is just going to be ax over x plus a. For the second one in this section, we have u to the negative second, so that's 1 over u squared, minus v to the negative second, so it's 1 over v squared, divided by, then we have 1 over u minus 1 over v. All right, so first fraction. Least common denominator, u squared, v squared. Multiply top and bottom of the first by v squared. This is going to give us v squared over u squared, v squared, minus second fraction is going to be u squared. So that's going to be u squared over u squared, v squared. Second fraction's least common denominator is uv. So multiply top and bottom of the first by v. So that's v over uv minus second one is going to be by u, so that's u over uv. When we go to put this all together, we're going to have v squared minus u squared over u squared v squared divided by v minus u over uv. So if we factor the first numerator, we're going to have v minus u times v plus u all over u squared v squared. Then we're going to keep, change, flip, so multiply by uv over v minus u. Cancel out where you can. This v minus u's are going to cancel. The exponents are going to cancel out the uv. And then you're going to just be left with v plus u over uv. For our next one, we have x to the negative second, so that's 1 over x squared minus x squared over 1 divided by 1 over x minus x over 1. So least common denominator of the first fraction is x squared. Multiply top and bottom of the second fraction by x squared. So this is going to become 1 over x squared minus x to the fourth over x squared. Second fraction, least common denominator is x, so multiply top and bottom of the second fraction by x. So this is going to leave us with 1 over x minus x squared over x. We can rewrite this as 1 minus x to the fourth over x squared divided by 1 minus x squared over x. So if we want to keep, change, flip, we can factor at the same time when we do this. So this is going to be 1 minus x squared times 1 plus x squared over x squared times, we're not going to factor the second fraction's numerator, which is going to turn into our denominator, because it is one of the factors of the first numerator. So we're going to have 1 minus x squared on the bottom of that. So these are going to cancel, and this will cancel out the exponent here. So it's just going to be 1 plus x squared over x. If we look at the next one, we have s squared minus t to the negative second. So this is going to be s squared over 1 minus 1 over t squared divided by s over 1 minus 1 over t. So least common denominator of the first is the t squared. multiply top and bottom of this first fraction by t squared. So this is going to be s squared t squared over t squared minus 1 over t squared divided by s minus 1 over, or minus, s minus, or s over 1 minus 1 over t. The least common denominator there is t, so multiply top and bottom of that first by ts over t minus 1 over t. So this is now going to be s squared t squared minus 1 over t squared divided by ts minus 1, or st minus 1 over t. When we factor the first, we're going to have st minus 1 times st plus 1 over t squared. Change to multiplication, flip the second. We can rearrange the ts to be st minus 1. So now one of the parentheses are the same and they can cancel out there. And then that t is going to cancel out the exponent on that one. So we're just going to have st plus 1 over t. For our next example, we have h plus h to the negative second, which is going to be the same as h over 1 plus 1 over h squared divided by 1, or 1 over 1, plus 1 over h to make that negative 1 a positive 1. So from here, multiply first fraction, the first side of parentheses, by h squared, top and bottom. So this is going to be h cubed over h squared plus 1 over h squared divided by, second fraction is h, is the least common denominator, so it's going to be h over h plus 1 over h. We can rewrite this now as h cubed plus 1 over h squared, divided by h plus 1 over h. So from here, if you remember, we have the sum of cubes here, so our formula there is going to be the cube root of that h cubed is h, cube root of that 1 is 1. So we're going to do h plus 1 times h squared minus h plus 1. Keep it over the h squared. And then change the second fraction to be h over h plus 1, and with multiplication in the middle. Your h plus 1s are the same, so those can cancel out. The squared is going to cancel out the h on the top of the second fraction. So we're just going to have h squared minus h plus 1 over h as our solution. For 6, you have a minus b. We're going to keep a minus b, put it over 1, divided by 1 over a minus 1 over b. So from here, it's going to stay a minus b over 1. We can keep this division right now because you need a least common denominator, which is going to be ab. Multiply top and bottom of the second fraction by b. Multiply top and bottom by the other fraction in there by a. So this is going to become b over ab minus a over ab. So now this work is going to give us a minus b over 1 divided by b minus a over ab. From here, your b minus a, you can go ahead and rearrange that so that way it's negative a plus b if you want. So that way it's a minus b over 1 divided by negative a plus b over ab. We can factor out a negative 1 from that, which is going to turn it into a minus b. So now when we keep change flip, we can cancel things out. So this is going to be a minus 1, or a minus b over 1 times ab over negative 1 times a minus b. Those a minus b's are the same, so they can cancel, and negative 1 is underneath the ab, so it's just going to be negative ab for our answer.